We got a fun video for you guys coming up in just a second, but I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. Who is your top breakout candidate for the Vikings next season? You guys let me know down in the comments section. What's going on, everybody? Welcome in the Vikings Now by Chad Sports. My name is Patrick Seatman. First up on today's show, I'm going to be explaining to you guys why I believe Sam Darnold is going to absolutely shock the NFL this season. As if you look at other NFL media members, what they're saying about this ball club, they don't have too much faith in Sammy D. And then also on the second half of today's show, Ivan Pace Jr. I think he's setting himself up to have a massive season under Brian Flores and this Vikings defense. So I'll give you guys my thoughts here in a second. But it was actually Jeremy Fowler who dropped an article on ESPN explaining what the Vikings think of Sam Darnold. And he said this. He said, the Vikings believe that there is untapped potential here, that there is a lot of ability. He's never had a supporting cast quite like this, so they believe he can not only start games, but potentially thrive if everything goes well. So their plan would be to sit J.J. McCarthy to an unknown amount of games, whether it's a full season, however many games they believe he can learn a high-volume passing system behind the scenes, at least for a little bit, would be good for him. And I agree with what Jeremy Fowler's saying there. I think the Vikings brought in Sam Darnold this offseason, to not only be that bridge quarterback, but to also see what they have in him and see if he can finally live up to that top 3 pick potential when he was drafted. But his career numbers, you guys see him on screen. Obviously, the interceptions have been an issue for him throughout his career, but he has that dual threat ability, just over 750 yards in 66 games played. Completion percentage down as well, but I think a lot of that has to do with the players and the system he was playing behind. Now, the biggest kind of concern and red flag I have for Sam Darnold is the interception rate. And since 2018, it actually sits at 3.1, which is the second highest. And actually, who is first is Jameis Winston. So not good, company right there for Sam Darnold, but I just don't think he has had a fair chance to succeed. Like back with the Jets, were they offering him good support system? No, not really. When he went to the Carolina Panthers, played 2 seasons there, was that the best, support for a quarterback? Probably not. But I do want to focus in here on his 2019 season with the New York Jets, because in my opinion, this was his best year of his NFL career. Some people argue, that 6-game run in Carolina, but throughout a full, season, I think this is when he looked his best, and this was actually in his second year in the NFL. Completion percentage, 61.9. Not a terrible touchdown to interception ratio at 19-13. Passing yards, over 3,000 in 13 games played. Average depth of target, not terrible, 8.8 yards. Turnover-worthy play percentage was actually at 4.4, the second lowest of his NFL career. And you may be saying, well, he was probably had an elite crew of weapons that he was passing the ball to. Not really. This year was actually when Le'Veon Bell went to the New York Jets in 2019. He only averaged 3.2 yards per carry. So there wasn't necessarily a good running game in New York. Then he had Jamison Crowder, Robbie Chosen, Demaryius Thomas, Ryan Griffin at tight end, but none of these guys went over 1,000 yards, and only 2 of them went over 500 yards. So I focus in on that season for a reason, to be like he can, he has that potential to be productive in the NFL. And also this. Kyle Shanahan of the 49ers last season took a chance on Sam Darnold, and yes, it was not to be the starting quarterback. They knew they had Brock Purdy. But I think it says a lot that 2 of the smartest offensive minds in the NFL took a chance on Sam Darnold during free agency. They wanted to bring him in, see if they can tap into some of that untapped potential that he has. And, me, you, whoever's watching this video, 99% of NFL media, when they're talking about, NFL offenses and just, the nuances of it, they don't know anything compared to those 2 guys right there, Kyle Shanahan or Kevin O'Connell. So I think it speaks to him and just speaks to his potential at 2 of the smartest minds in the game. We're fans of him, during the free agency periods. And also this, he is going to be playing with a absolutely stacked offense. And I think if you showed this graphic for every team in the NFL, where it shows 2 wide receivers, a running back, a tight end, and an offensive lineman, you could stack the Vikings up against any team in the league. I would probably still choose the 49ers with Ayuk, Debo, Kittle, and, McCaffrey and also Trent Williams, they probably got a better 5 than the Vikings. But who comes in second? It's probably the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, Justin Jefferson, Addison, Aaron Jones is going to be a significant upgrade over Madison. TJ Hockenson, even though he is rehabbing from that knee injury, you still have Robert Tonyan, Josh Allen to fill that void. And then Christian Darrisaw, in my opinion, is a no-doubt top 3 left tackle in the league. And, dating back to last season, where the Vikings ranked offensively, it's not like it was a disaster. And I think this speaks to Kevin O'Connell and just overall offensive game plan that they have had over the past 2 years in Minnesota. Listen, they have not been able to run the game. It's not shown right here, but they were 29th in the NFL. But points per game, 22nd. Again, not great, not even good. Still, a little bit below average, but they're still able to put up a ton of yards per game, ranking 10th. Yards per play, 10th as well. Plays per game, we're at 67. But this was the kicker right here. Turnovers per game. The Vikings were the second worst in the National Football League last season. Now, you look at all this, and then you say to yourself, hey, Nick Mullins, Jaron Hall, Josh Dobbs, all playing quarterback. No Justin Jefferson, no T.J. Hockenson for a couple of games, and even Darrisaw missed some time. I think if you include Sam Darnold with this offense, these will all be top 15 in the league, no doubt about it. But that's the kicker right there. The turnovers per game, especially for Sam Darnold, they're going to have to improve. But Kevin O'Connell, during a press conference following Vikings minicamp last week, was talking about who will be QB1. He says, we haven't put out a depth chart or anything like that. But yeah, I would say Sam would be the guy I would look at based upon the spring he's had and really where he's at in his career and his quarterback journey and what he's been able to do coming in and hitting the ground running and taking advantage of a competitive situation. And, my words to the rest of the NFL and NFL media members, keep sleeping on Sam Darnold. Obviously, has not lived up to the hype of being the 3rd overall pick. No doubt about it. But I think he's going to turn around this season. And this is actually my stat projection for Sam Darnold this upcoming year. I think he's going to play all 17 games of the regular season. I think he's going to go 10-7, lead the Vikings to a wild card berth. And I think his completion percentage is going to go up by a couple ticks. Not going to be great. Going to be below league average still. But I think it's going to be 63.4%. I could see it. 28 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, still turning the ball over at a higher rate I would like. But I think the overall yards and touchdowns are going to take a huge leap this year for Sam Darnold because of the weapons and the support system that are around him. But you guys let me know. I'll make this the pin comment on today's video. Do you believe in Sam Darnold? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no down in the comment section. And if YouTube throws an ad break your way right now, sit back, let it play, help us out, and let me know your thoughts on Sam Darnold. All right, let's talk about my favorite, or one of my favorite players on the Minnesota Vikings. That is Ivan Pace Jr. Is Ivan Pace Jr. set up to have a breakout season with the Minnesota Vikings? Let's talk about it. So this past season, Ivan Pace was fantastic. I mean, the numbers he put up as a UDFA are absolutely fantastic. Over 100 tackles. Only missed 10 tackles on the year, which was in the top 10 percentile of the entire NFL, which was great. Had 3 sacks as well. Was great coming off the edge in the earlier half of the season. Had that big-time interception against the Las Vegas Raiders in that incredible 3-0 ball game. Also had a PBU as well. But in my opinion, if Ivan Pace was going to take that breakout and he was going to be known as one of the best linebackers in the league, it's got to be his play in coverage. Now, he was fantastic in the run game. He was fantastic coming off the edge last season. But we did see him struggle in coverage. Take a look at the stats right now. He gave up an 86.4 completion percentage in coverage this past season. 37 targets, 32 receptions. But he did only allow a 5.7 yards per catch. A lot of this just has to do with naturally in the NFL, he's lined up against running backs and also tight ends. So a lot of these are shorter to intermediate routes where he's covering a guy in the flat or he's covering a guy on a hitch route or a drag, whatever it may be. But it was only 182 yards, and the longest catch was actually 13 for Ivan Pace. And my take on him, if he could become an above-average linebacker in coverage, he will be a top 5 linebacker in the NFL, no doubt about it. I think he is that special because of his ability, coming off the edge, being that chess piece for Brian Flores. If he can just be above average, I'm not even saying a Fred Warner type of coverage linebacker, but just above average, he will succeed and he will be top 5 in the league. And Kevin O'Connell was talking about him this offseason. excuse me, we showed this quote before, but just talking about him, getting the green dot from Brian Flores. He says it's remarkable, even where he's at right now, to think that this is just his second year. He's had a very good spring, just the type of communication that Flo is putting on his plate. And, moving forward, where the Vikings defense is heading right here, I think Ivan Pace could be a prime candidate to be the leader and the captain of this defense. I think right now, if you would still call it, the voice in the locker room, even though he's not a vocal guy, it's still probably Harrison Smith. But there's a lot of young guys on this roster, a lot of players who have not been with this organization too long. So whether it's Ivan Pace or a guy like Dallas Turner, I think it's got to be one of those two young guys to grab the reins and be that vocal leader in the locker room. Now, PFF was writing up an article talking about some of the top breakout candidates as well in 2024, and they listed Ivan Pace Jr. for the Minnesota Vikings. They said Pace burst onto the scene in 2023 as a UDFA. He picked up 5 total pressures on 15 pass rushing snaps over the first 2 weeks and remained an asset as a pass rusher throughout his rookie campaign, as his 109 pass rushing snaps ranked 6th among all linebackers. Great stat right there, speaking to him coming off the edge. And, he is just another chess piece for Brian Flores. Like, we talk about versatility so much on this channel because it means so much to this football team. Ivan Pace is that as well. Like, Ivan Pace is that guy. He can get it done in the pass rush department. He can get it done, obviously, in the run defense department. I just do think, that next step for him is in coverage. But, Brian Flores, I'm sure he's just, foaming at the mouth as finding other ways to deploy Ivan Pace with this Vikings defense. So I can't wait to see Pace, play this season. And also, guys, he's wearing number 0. He's going back to his days at Cincinnati. So we're not going to be typing 40s. We're going to be typing those zeros down in the comment section. Show him some love. Show him your support, as I think a big-time year is going to be coming for the Vikings linebacker. Now, if you guys want more Vikings news, rumors, whatever it may be, on Twitter, that's my handle right there, at Pat Seeps. Give me a follow over there, and I'll give you guys a follow right back. But thank you guys so much for watching today's show. See you guys next time. As always, Skol Vikes.